In rare public remarks, former President Barack Obama warned that the United States is dangerously close to slipping into an autocracy under the Trump administration. The former president spoke Tuesday night in Hartford, Connecticut, where he criticized President Trump and questioned the administration's commitment to democracy. But Obama also challenged affluent progressives who were, quote, comfortable in their righteousness during his presidency.
Democracy is not self-executing. It requires people, judges, and people in the Justice Department, and people throughout the government who take an oath to uphold the Constitution. When that isn't happening, we start drifting into something that is not consistent with American democracy. It is consistent with autocracies. I think that we are dangerously close to normalizing behavior like that. We've lost a monoculture. We've lost everybody watching Walter Cronkite. We've lost everybody watching MASH or Mary Tyler Moore or All in the Family or Roots. We've lost everybody getting a Time magazine. It makes it more difficult now for us to find common ground. It makes it easier for demagogues to divide us. You could be as progressive and socially conscious as you wanted, and you did not have to pay a price. You could still make a lot of money, have a house in the Hamptons, and still think of yourself as a progressive. And now things are a little different. We now have a situation in which all of us are going to be tested in some way. And we are going to have to then decide what our commitments are. You might lose some of your donors if you're a university. And if you're a law firm, your billings might drop a little bit, which means you cannot remodel that kitchen in your house in the Hamptons this summer.
So there's been a lot of debate lately about President Obama, whether he should be more front and center. We heard from him this week, Mara, and I think he sort of said what most Democrats say about the dangers posed by Trump and the fact how hard it is to break through in this very fractured society. But I'm curious as to what you think about that last soundbite there. Yeah. His criticism of progressives, those in his own party.
Well, I think it wasn't just a criticism, it was a call to action. I think we sometimes forget that Barack Obama's beginning in political life was actually in organizing. And I really saw this as a call to action to everyday Americans, but to especially everyday Americans who are professionals, who may have some agency to speak out, whether at their job, in their community, to say, hey, democracy requires you to act now in your own personal life, to stand up for what you believe in, to say something when your neighbor is, having their rights stripped away. And I think that there is this tension between Democratic voters in particular, looking for some kind of leader to save them, when all the time Barack Obama, I think in this, is hinting at this needs to be a pro-democracy movement, and this needs to come from the bottom up.
I think she is absolutely right. The other thing is, as somebody that's been active on the field for a long time, you use the term progressive, and many of us say progressive for who and on what issues. because they take 2 or 3 issues that's great and we agree with, but leave us out of the coalition in terms of our interests. And I think that the quote we always use is, we're not looking for better slave masters, we're looking for freedom. It must be a participatory kind of coalition where all of our interests addressed or none are. So like even on a today, like Juneteenth Day, how many of the so-called progressive leaders will be with Juneteenth? I'm on my way to Junior's Restaurant in Brooklyn to have breakfast with Spike Lee to talk about how we broaden this, how we deal with Haiti just like we deal with other issues. We are not seeing that kind of equal kind of concern by people that call themselves progressive, because they're progressive on 2 or 3 issues and we're not included in them in the black community.
So, David, your latest piece for Bloomberg is titled "Black Men's Shift Toward the GOP May Not Be Fleeting." So as we talk about Democrats, they need to talk to their own members of their own, traditionally members of their own base. You're arguing here, and tell us more about it, that the inroads that Trump made this time around may last.
Well, they may and they may not. I think what is interesting to understand here is black men still remain overwhelmingly Democratic, but that the shift was significant when you're dealing with elections decided by 2 points or less. That happened nationally. It happened in key swing states. And I think what was very interesting about this was that, especially for working class black men, they're no different than any other voter. And what they have been saying this year, not just the day after the election or before the election, but within the last 6-7 weeks in focus groups, is that the economy matters to them, that they think the Democratic Party has overreached and overfocused on social issues and cultural issues that they don't necessarily agree with, and that they don't want just appeals to them as black men. They want, just like any other voter, appeals to them as men who want to make a living and support their family. Those are the verbatims in the focus groups. And I think it's one of the things that, again, we overcomplicate this. You go to people that have concerns, you listen to those concerns, and you offer them solutions to those concerns. And often when we look at politicians that get elected or rise, and we're wondering, how did this flawed candidate, whether it's Donald Trump, or let's say you're a center-left Democrat in New York, not progressive, but just center-left, and you're wondering how Zohran Mamdani is rising. And it's usually because people feel like they have quality of life issues. And I don't know if I agree with what this person is proposing, but at least they're proposing something. And at least they're showing that they care. It's something that Donald Trump has done in the Republican Party, but also for a lot of independents at times, which then gets them to sort of overlook all of his flaws. And it's something that we see from time to time with Democrats. I would say, finally, when you look at the problems in our politics, voters have a lot of say in this. But it would also be helpful, on the one hand, to have presidents that could show restraint, not just do things because they either can or can get away with it. And also, ironically, to have a United States Congress that would exert the power the Constitution gives it. We see on both sides of the aisle a parliamentary approach where, if my guy's in the White House, I'm just not going to say no. They can take power away from us, and we're going to let them, because we agree with what they're doing. You need Republicans and Democrats in Congress to tell their own presidents, I know we agree. I would like to get there. We don't have the votes. This belongs to us. You can't do it. And nobody wants to do that kind of hard work in Washington.
David Drucker, thank you very much. His new piece for Bloomberg is online right now. And Mara Gay, thank you as well. Her piece is available to read online for the New York Times right now as well. Also, Reverend Al will be watching Politics Nation Saturdays and Sundays at 5 p.m. Thank you for coming on this morning.